Hi, I am here talking about my English 104 class, Introduction to Fiction, that I'll be teaching this spring, 2013, for the first time with Open Education Resources. I've been teaching on Moodle for about 4 years now, so it was fairly simple as far as converting the class over to OER, but there were some challenges. First of all, the reason I did it is to make the materials more accessible to students. I found that the rising cost of textbooks, I think my textbook last term was about $90, seemed a little unreasonable, and the frequent new editions coming out. And I found that many of the short stories I was using were available through in the public domain. So I chose to convert this class over to OER. This is my home page for 104, and I'll scroll down a little bit to show you some of the features. As I said, I've been teaching online for about 4 years, so many of my materials were already available online, like my syllabus and course outcomes and writing assignments. One of the first things I can show you is that instead of buying a handbook or having my students buy a handbook, I point them toward some free resources online, like the OWL at Purdue. They have different web pages covering elements of fiction like plot and character and theme, those sorts of subjects. So that's been really helpful for me as I've converted the course over to have those links available. So that OWL link, for example, is in my week 1, the reader response and elements of literature. Students will click right here on OWL, plot, and character. My lessons are also available here online. Some of those I've used from another faculty member. A colleague shared her lessons plans with me, so that was really helpful. I also use Wikipedia. I have Wikipedia on plot later in the term, I think in week 2. And I found that that was really helpful for students to be able to read some of the materials, and some of it is much of the same material that they would have had as a reading assignment in their textbook. So let's see if I can scroll down. I can show you an example of a short story. So here is Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin. It's in the public domain, and you can click on that right here. So rather than reading it out of a textbook, students will either read it here online. I do encourage students to Xerox or to print, rather, print their materials so that they have a hard copy that they can make annotations and have to read throughout the term and reference back to their notes. So that's an example of one of the stories from the public domain that I've used. Another thing that I find helpful, one of the ways that students stay active in the online course is they write forum posts, of course, and they also do reading notes, which is their opportunity at the end of the week to write a more detailed discussion of some of the issues that we're talking about in the short stories. So one of the things that I do is I post a sample set of excellent reading notes. So I can click onto that. I have students' permission from previous terms to post those samples. And I found that to be really helpful for students to see what previous students in previous terms have submitted. So it was relatively simple as far as finding the short stories and making sure that they're in fair use. I'm planning to change the short stories from term to term to make sure that the materials are accessible. And this is one week I did decide to continue using Persepolis, the graphic novel. I felt it was pretty crucial to this week in the term. So what I'm doing is putting 3 copies of this novel on reserve at the Lane Library so that students can access it for free in 2-hour increments. But they also have the choice to purchase that. But it's a very inexpensive book in contrast to the cost of some of these big textbooks. Another assignment we do is online literature and other experiments in week 9. And during this week, students will do a brief review of an online literary site, and I have more OWL links that week. So it's a 10-week course in Introduction to Fiction, and these are the ways that I have made it accessible to students without using a textbook.